My sister looked me in the eye and said, "Please transfer your apartment to me. I'm too sick to work." I smiled, turned on my TV, and replied, "These club photos said you're not too sick to party. Maybe writing this out will help me figure out if they're right. 10 years, every dollar, every overtime shift, every skipped vacation. I paid off that apartment with a decade of my life. She wanted me to give it away because she's sick of working. Maybe. Let me start from the beginning, the background. I never went to college. Not because I didn't want to, because we couldn't afford it. When I was 18, my parents sat me down and explained that they'd saved enough for one kid's education. And my older sister had more academic potential. She was 23 at the time, already in her third year of college studying something with communications in the title. So I went to work. Construction first. Brutal in the summer, brutal in the winter, brutal on my body. Then warehouse work, slightly better pay, slightly worse hours. Finally, at 21, I got into an electrical apprenticeship. Trade work hard, physical labor, but decent money once I got certified. That same year, I made the decision that would define my 20s. I bought an apartment. The apartment is generous. It was a tiny one-bedroom in a rough neighborhood. The building was old, the neighbors were loud, and there was a corner 2 blocks away where you learned not to walk after dark. But it was $127,000, and the bank said I could afford the mortgage if I was careful. I was very, very careful. For 10 years, every extra dollar went to paying it off. I took every overtime shift. I ate rice and beans more nights than I can count. No vacations, not even a weekend trip, no new car. I drove the same 2008 Civic the entire time. No dating, really, because what was I going to do? Take someone to my cramped apartment and offer them tap water? I watched my coworkers buy trucks and boats and take their families to Disney. I watched my friends get married, have kids, buy houses. I just worked and paid and waited. 3 months ago, I made the last payment. The apartment is now worth $168,000. The neighborhood improved while I was busy paying off the mortgage. The coffee shop on the corner is artisan now. The corner where you didn't walk after dark has a yoga studio. First thing I ever owned, free and clear. First thing that was truly completely mine. I should have kept my mouth shut about it. The sister. My sister, 36F, always had a different path. She went to college on my parents' money, got that communications degree, and then nothing stuck. Retail job for 8 months, quit because of a toxic manager. Receptionist for a year, left because the environment was draining. Barista for 6 months, walked out because it wasn't her passion. This pattern continued through her 20s. Every job ended the same way. It was never her fault. The bosses were unreasonable. The co-workers were cliquey. The work was beneath her. She deserved better. Then at 30, everything changed. She announced she had a chronic illness. She never specified what exactly. When I asked, she'd say things like, "It's complicated," or "Doctors are still running tests," or "You wouldn't understand unless you've experienced it." She moved back in with, "My parents stopped working completely, built her entire identity around being sick. I want to be clear about something. Invisible illnesses are real. Chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, autoimmune conditions. These are legitimate, devastating conditions that millions of people suffer from. I know this, I've read about it. People with invisible illnesses face constant skepticism, and that's wrong. So when my sister first claimed to be sick, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. But over 6 years, I noticed things. She posts gym selfies on Tuesday and claims disability on Wednesday, hikes mountains on Saturday, and can't possibly work on Monday. And my parents believed her for 6 years because believing was easier than parenting. She was always healthy enough to go shopping. I'm talking full days at the mall, carrying bags, walking miles through stores. Healthy enough for concerts, standing for hours dancing, staying out until 2 a.m. Healthy enough to travel with friends, beach vacations, hiking trips, weekend getaways. But working even part-time, even from home, impossible. Her condition wouldn't allow it. I kept these observations to myself for years. It wasn't my business. I told myself my parents were adults. If they wanted to support her, that was their choice. I had my own life to worry about, my own mortgage to pay. That changed the night I announced I'd finally paid off my apartment, the dinner. I was proud. Genuinely proud. 10 years of sacrifice, and I'd done it. I'd actually done it. I owned something. I had achieved something real through nothing but my own hard work. I shared the news at our monthly family dinner. I expected congratulations, maybe even a little admiration. I was the kid who didn't go to college after all, the one who was supposed to struggle. Instead, my parents exchanged a look. The kind of look that tells you a conversation has been had about you without you. My mom spoke first. "Actually, we wanted to talk to you about the apartment." My stomach dropped. My dad continued, "Your sister needs her own space. Living with us is affecting her health. Doctors say she needs independence for her recovery." Then my sister's voice, soft and rehearsed, "I've been researching. My condition requires a low-stress environment. Your apartment is perfect. Quiet neighborhood now. No stairs near the clinic I go to." I looked at each of them in turn. "What are you saying, Mom?" again. "We think you should let your sister have the apartment. You're healthy. You can work. She can't. I remember laughing. Not because it was funny, but because my brain couldn't process what I was hearing. You want me to give her my apartment? Dad nodding like this was reasonable. Transfer it to her name. You can rent somewhere. You're single. You don't need much space. And my sister. The line that still echoes in my head at night. It's not like you built it. You just paid for it. I have a medical condition. I need this. Mom said, you had choices. She doesn't. I had choices. I worked construction at 18 because college wasn't an option. She went to college on their money and chose to do nothing with it. We both had choices. We just chose differently. I told them I needed to think about it. The campaign. What followed was 2 weeks of relentless pressure. My sister posted on social media about family not supporting chronic illness, and when the people who should love you make your condition worse. She tagged posts with things like #invisible_illness and #chronic_warrior. Her friends commented with hearts, and you deserve better, and family should be there for you. My mom called daily. She's getting worse because of the stress you're causing. You're literally making her sicker. How can you sleep at night? My dad sent me articles about invisible disabilities and the importance of family support systems, and even one about siblings who stepped up for their chronically ill brothers and sisters. He highlighted passages. My sister texted, I thought you loved me. I guess the apartment is more important than your sister's life. My aunt, my mom's sister, who I'd always been close to, called me crying. Your sister might not survive if she doesn't get proper living conditions. How will you live with yourself if something happens to her? They wanted me to give her my apartment because I'm healthy. Being healthy is my crime. Working is my crime. Being responsible is my crime, and being a professional victim is apparently a disability that deserves a $168,000 reward. I started to doubt myself. Maybe I was being selfish. Maybe I was a bad brother. Maybe her illness was real and I was just jealous that she got support while I got none. But then I looked at her Instagram, the investigation update 1. I told my family I was seriously considering the apartment transfer. I needed time to think. I said this seemed to satisfy them temporarily, but I wasn't thinking about transferring anything. I was investigating. The thing about social media is that people forget what they've posted. My sister had 6 years of content documenting her illness journey. She also had 6 years of content documenting everything else. I scrolled back through everything. Screenshots, timestamps, saved posts, hiking trip 3 weeks ago, smiling at the summit of a mountain, caption about finding strength in nature, beach vacation 2 months ago, dancing in the waves. Cocktail in hand, gym selfie from last month, workout complete, feeling strong, but scrolled to her illness posts, and she couldn't possibly work because her body was failing her. I looked up the clinic she supposedly visited near my apartment. It was a wellness spa massage and facials, not exactly oncology. One day I took a personal day from work. I'm not proud of this part, but I followed her. She went to the gym first, worked out for an hour, weights, cardio, the works, then got a smoothie. Then met friends for lunch at a trendy spot downtown. Then spent 3 hours shopping at 3 different stores. No signs of illness, no signs of fatigue, no signs of the woman who supposedly couldn't stand long enough to hold a job. She couldn't name a single doctor. 6 years of chronic illness, and not one doctor's name because there are no doctors. There's no illness. There's just a woman who discovered that being sick means no one expects anything from you. Then I got the confirmation I needed. I tracked down her ex-roommate from years ago, someone she'd lived with before moving back home. We met for coffee. She was completely healthy, the ex-roommate told me. The sick thing started when she didn't want to work anymore. She actually told me something once that stuck with me. What did she say? Her ex-roommate told me. She said, if I'm sick, no one can expect anything from me. That's not a diagnosis, that's a strategy. A 6-year strategy to avoid adult responsibility while living off everyone else. I had everything I needed. The trap update 2. I invited my family over for dinner at my apartment. The apartment they wanted me to give away. I told them I wanted to discuss the arrangement and understand what my sister needs, so I can make the right decision. They came eagerly. My parents probably thought I'd caved. My sister came looking tired and pale, clearly performing because I'd watched her at the gym 3 days prior. I was nice, warm, even made dinner, thanked them for coming. Then over dessert I said, I just want to understand your illness better, so I can make sure the apartment suits your needs. Can you tell me more about your diagnosis? My sister shifted in her seat. It's complex. Fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, maybe lupus. Doctors are still testing for 6 years. These things take time. Of course. I nodded sympathetically. Which doctors are you seeing? I'd like to talk to them about what accommodations you might need. Maybe the apartment needs modifications. She panicked. I saw it in her eyes. That's private. I'm not asking for your medical records, just names. So I can ask about things like grab bars or special lighting or whatever your condition requires. Silence. What's your hematologist's name? The one testing for lupus. More silence. Your primary care doctor. The one managing your fibromyalgia. Nothing. Anyone. Any doctor at all that you've seen in the last 6 years for this chronic illness that prevents you from working, but requires my apartment. Mom defended her even after seeing the evidence. Maybe she was having good days. 6 years of good days with no work days at some point. That's not a good day. That's just a life funded by lies. She couldn't name a single doctor because there were no doctors. There was no illness. There was just a lie 6 years deep and a family who chose to believe it because believing was easier than holding her accountable. Then I showed them everything, the evidence. Update 3, I pulled out my phone and connected it to my TV. Slideshow time. Photo 1 sister at the gym dated 3 weeks ago working out with weights. Photo 2 sister at a nightclub dated last month, dancing with friends at 1 a.m. Photo 3 sister hiking, dated 2 months ago at the summit of a mountain trail. I know is at least 5 miles round trip. Photo 4 through 10, more of the same. Shopping trips, beach days, concerts, birthday parties. 6 years of vigorous activity from a woman who claimed she couldn't work. Then I read them the text from her ex-roommate, the confession that she decided to be sick so no one could expect anything from her. The room was silent. My sister exploded first. You spied on me. You're the sick one. This is harassment. You're obsessed with me. I stayed calm. You asked me to give you my apartment, an apartment I paid for over 10 years. Because you claimed you were too ill to work and needed it for your health, but you're healthy enough to party every weekend. You're healthy enough to hike mountains. You're healthy enough to do everything except work. You're not disabled, sis. You're lazy, and you've been lying to everyone for 6 years. She screamed. She cried. She called me names I won't repeat. Then she stormed out, slamming my door so hard, a picture fell off the wall. My parents sat frozen. I watched emotions flicker across their faces. Confusion, denial, guilt, and something that might have been shame. Maybe she was having good days in those photos, my mom said weakly. 6 years of good days where she can do everything except work. That's not an illness, Mom. That's a choice. And you've been enabling it. My dad was quiet. For the first time in my life, I saw doubt in his eyes when he looked at where my sister had been sitting. Then my mom said, even if she exaggerated, she still needs support. You should still give her the apartment. I stood up. No, I worked 10 years for that apartment. She worked 0 days for it. I'm not rewarding a scam. My mom's face hardened. Then you're not welcome in this family. Something in me broke then, or maybe it finally healed. I'm still not sure. I was never really welcome anyway, was I? I was just useful. The one who works, who struggles, who asks for nothing. She asks for everything and gets it. That's not family. That's exploitation. I'm done. They left without another word. The aftermath. Update 4. I cut contact with my parents and sister completely. Blocked numbers, blocked social media, told a few close friends what had happened so they'd understand why I'd be absent from family events. For the first few months, I second-guessed myself constantly. Maybe I'd been too harsh. Maybe I should have been more understanding. Maybe invisible illnesses manifest in ways I couldn't understand, and the gym photos were just her pushing through. But I'd seen her face when I asked for a doctor's name. That wasn't the face of someone with a real illness trying to protect their privacy. That was the face of someone caught in a lie. Life got quieter, simpler in some ways. My apartment became peaceful. No one telling me I owed them anything. No one making me feel guilty for working hard. No one claiming my achievements as their entitlements. 6 months went by. Then my aunt reached out. The same aunt who'd called me crying about how my sister might not survive without proper living conditions. I thought you should know, she said. Your sister got a job. I almost dropped my phone. What? First one in 6 years. Your parents cut her off after you exposed everything. They finally looked into her claims. Really looked. And they found what you found. No doctors. No diagnosis. Just spa appointments and shopping receipts. They stopped giving her money and suddenly her chronic illness became manageable enough for a job. Funny how the chronic illness disappeared when the money did. How are my parents? I asked, not sure why I cared. Ashamed, mostly angry at themselves. Your mother is having a hard time admitting she was wrong. You know how she is. I did know. That's why I didn't expect an apology from her. Your father is different. He asks about you. I think he wants to reach out but doesn't know how. I thanked my aunt for the information and hung up. Another 6 months passed. A full year since the dinner where everything exploded. Then my dad texted. We were wrong. We believed her because it was easier than questioning. I'm sorry. I stared at that text for a week before responding. I wrote and deleted 100 replies. Angry ones, hurt ones, cold ones. Eventually, I just wrote, thank you for saying that. I need time. A month later, I agreed to meet him for coffee. Just him. Just once. 1 year later, update 5, final. I'm writing this from my apartment. My apartment. Sitting on the balcony, I added after paying off the mortgage a small reward to myself for a decade of sacrifice. It's Sunday morning. I'm drinking coffee and watching the neighborhood wake up. The yoga studio is running an early class. The Artisol coffee shop has a line out the door. A young couple walks by with a stroller debating which bakery to try. My phone buzzes. Dad checking in. We talk sometimes now. Not about heavy stuff, just regular conversation. How's work? Did you see the game? Small things. Careful things. We met a few times after that first coffee. He never makes excuses for what happened. Never tries to explain away the years of favoritism or the pressure campaign, or the demand that I surrender my home. He just apologizes each time in different ways. He's learning how to be sorry without expecting forgiveness to follow automatically. I haven't forgiven him completely. I don't know if I ever will, but I'm letting him try. Mom and my sister are a separate issue. Dad doesn't push me to talk about them, and I don't ask. I know they're still in his life. He's not cutting them off, and I don't expect him to. That's his choice to make. What I know, my mom never apologized. My sister never admitted she lied. They've both decided that I'm the villain who tore the family apart by refusing to be exploited. My sister texted me once 6 months ago. I'm working now. Are you happy I didn't respond? What would I say? I'm not happy she had to work. I'm sad she thought lying was better. I'm not proud I exposed her. I'm tired that I had to. I'm not glad the family broke. I'm relieved I stopped pretending it wasn't already broken. She's working now. Good for her. She discovered that being sick stops working when people stop believing. It takes a lot of energy to maintain a lie for 6 years. Maybe she'll put that energy into something real now. Or maybe she'll find another scheme, another angle, another way to avoid responsibility. Not my problem anymore. Final thoughts. I kept the apartment exposed, the lie. Dad came back, sort of. Mom chose my sister as always. My sister is working now. Funny how the chronic illness disappeared when the money did. I should feel like I won. Sometimes I do, but mostly I feel tired. Tired of being the one who works while others scheme. Tired of being the bad guy for having boundaries. Tired of family meaning, what can you give me? I paid off this apartment with 10 years of my life. I paid for this peace with my whole family. Sitting here now, quiet Sunday morning, I think it was worth it. Has to be, because I can't get those years back. Can't get that family back. All I have is this apartment and the knowledge that I didn't let them take it. That has to be enough. Most days it is. The coffee is getting cold. The sun is getting higher. The neighborhood is fully awake now, full of people starting their Sundays. I have a dad who calls sometimes and actually asks how I am. It's not the family I wanted, but it's honest. After 6 years of living with a lie, honest feels like enough. Edit. A lot of people are asking if I feel guilty about exposing my sister publicly at the dinner instead of talking to her privately first. Honestly, I thought about it. I really did. But she had 6 years to come clean. 6 years where she could have admitted she was struggling with motivation or depression or whatever was really going on and asked for help honestly. Instead, she built an elaborate fake identity, manipulated our parents, and then tried to take my home. You don't get a private conversation about it when your opening move is demanding. I surrender a decade of work to fund your scam. You get exposed. Edit 2. For those saying I should give her grace because maybe she was dealing with depression and the sick identity was her way of coping. I hear you. Depression is real. Mental health struggles are real. But depression doesn't explain the gym selfies, the hiking trips, the nightclubs, the beach vacations. It doesn't explain demanding your brother's home. It doesn't explain never seeking actual treatment while claiming to be too ill to function. What she had wasn't depression. What she had was entitlement. Edit 3. Dad and I had dinner last week. He told me my sister is doing okay at her job. Hasn't been fired yet. He sounded surprised. I told him I'm glad and I meant it. I don't want her to fail. I just wanted her to stop being enabled. There's a difference. Mom still hasn't reached out. I don't expect her to. Some people can't admit they were wrong about their children. She'd rather lose me than admit my sister manipulated her. I've made my peace with that. Or I'm trying to. That's my story. 10 years of work, 6 years of lies, one dinner that changed everything. I kept the apartment. I lost most of my family. Some days I think I should have just given it to her and kept the peace. Most days I know that peace built on lies isn't peace at all. It's just quiet slavery. I chose freedom. Even if it's lonely, even if it hurts, it's still mine. Some reflections I've been sitting with. People keep asking me why I didn't question her illness sooner, why I waited 6 years, why I let it go on. The truth is, and this is hard to admit, I wanted to believe her too, not because believing made my life easier, but because the alternative was too painful to face. If she was really sick, then my parents' favoritism made sense. They were helping a disabled child. That's what good parents do. Sure, it hurt that they never helped me, but I could rationalize it. I was healthy. I was capable. I didn't need help. But if she was faking, then my parents chose her over me for no reason at all. They watched me struggle through my 20s, working construction in 100-degree heat, living in a bad neighborhood, driving a car held together by prayers and duct tape. And they never offered help, not once, while giving her everything. That truth is harder to live with than believing my sister was sick. So I didn't look too closely. I noticed the contradictions, filed them away, and kept my head down, kept working, kept paying. It was only when they demanded my apartment, the one thing I'd built with my own hands, my own sweat, my own sacrifice, that I couldn't look away anymore. They weren't just ignoring me. They were coming for what I had. That's when the spell broke. Someone in the comments asked what I would say to my sister if I ever talked to her again. I thought about this a lot. Late nights, staring at the ceiling, composing speeches in my head. I think I'd tell her that I understand. In a way, life is hard. Working is hard. Getting up every day and doing something you don't want to do for money that doesn't feel like enough, surrounded by people who don't appreciate you. That's exhausting. I get it. I really do. But the answer isn't to lie. The answer isn't to make yourself into a victim and demand that everyone sacrifice for you. The answer isn't to look at your brother's decade of work and say, give that to me because I'm tired. We were both tired. We both had hard moments. The difference is I kept showing up and she found a way to stop. I don't hate her for being tired. I hate that she decided her tiredness was more valid than mine, that my decade of exhaustion was worth less than her desire to rest. Maybe someday she'll understand that. Maybe she already does now that she's working. Maybe every morning when her alarm goes off, she thinks about the 6 years she lost to a lie and wonders what she could have built if she'd been honest. Or maybe she just resents me more. Probably that one. One last thing. My dad asked me during our last dinner if I regretted how I handled it. The public confrontation, the photos on the TV, the way I exposed her in front of everyone. I told him I regretted that it was necessary. I regret that she put us all in a position where the only way out was through devastation. I regret that our family couldn't handle honesty, that we had to explode before anyone could see the truth. But do I regret doing it? No, because here's what I've learned. Some people count on your silence. They count on you being too polite, too family-oriented, too worried about making a scene to call them out. And as long as you stay silent, they win. My sister counted on my silence for 6 years. My parents counted on it too. They all assumed I'd eventually give in, give up, give away what I'd worked for, because that's what good, quiet, hardworking people do. They were wrong. It's getting late now. The Sunday crowd has thinned. The yoga class ended hours ago. The coffee shop closed for the evening. I should clean up, maybe watch something, go to bed at a reasonable hour for once. Work tomorrow. Always work tomorrow. But I'll sit here a little longer on my balcony at my apartment. Mine. After everything, 10 years of payments, 6 years of lies, one explosion that shattered what was left of my family, this is what I have. An apartment, some peace, a father who's learning to be sorry, and the knowledge that I didn't let them take what was mine. It's not much, but it's honest. And honest, I'm learning, is everything. Final update. Not planning to update further unless something major happens. Thanks for reading and for all the support. Sometimes you just need strangers on the internet to tell you that you're not the crazy one.